little delayed reaction on that
I
one.
know,
That's good.
it is a little delayed. That's okay. Well, I think what prompted us to come on and just say hi and spend a few minutes together with everyone is that we are watching everybody go through this crazy, chaotic, tumultuous time. And although we're going through it as well, we've already gone through very similar things in life twice.
Right.
And we're going through it a little bit differently, I guess. And it is our hope that some of the things that helped us, or just in hindsight, after going through kind of weird, traumatic things in life, that we kind of drew back on and changed our lives so that we can be in a state of peace right now, was just something that we shared in our design book, but also I think it's different when it's coming from a real live person. And although this is totally out of our comfort zone, I don't know what could be worse for me. But in that, I know it's so important that we do stay connected and that we do have real live voices and human interaction, and can kind of talk about some of the hard things and some of the good things that are happening in all of our lives right now. So thanks for coming on and hanging with us.
Right, exactly.
It's very quiet around here because our littles are at my sister's house, so it's usually not quite this quiet.
Yeah,
so.
we usually have a lot more chaos than what you're feeling right now behind us. So yeah, it's kind of nice for us to have a little bit,
Yeah. So I first just wanted to really send our love and relay how much compassion we have for all of our friends and family, and those of you that we don't have the opportunity to know in real life, but maybe just through social media, just to extend like the compassion that is in our hearts right now, because we're watching people we love around us go through kind of those initial shock factors of when something life-altering happens. And it's almost bringing back some of the, I don't want to say memories, but deep feelings that happened as we went through things that were unrelated, but similar in gravity. And I think first we just wanted to be really candid about our story, because it's not something that you see on the little squares that are perfectly filtered and edited in the beautiful pictures on our Instagram. It's not something that was told in the magazine feature of our home on the 12-page spread. It still wasn't in there. And unless you know us or you read our book, you probably don't realize the depth of things that we've walked through in life.
Right.
and really the story behind Beautiful Chaos in of itself. So we were going to share a little bit about that and answer questions about kind of the health stuff that I get messages on and don't always have the time to answer, but really just have an honest platform to what it feels like to navigate scary health stuff and the fear and the anxieties that come along with it. So I don't know, maybe Jamie, you want to go back,
Right.
I guess, to the beginning of Gabby, our daughter's story, and where that kind of started things for our life in walking through storms.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Sarah said, I mean, this started for us, right? Not this COVID-19, right? We're running the same race as all you guys, but we've also feel like we've already been through it in certain opportunities, right? Or challenges is probably a better word that we've had. And Gabby, who's now 8, right? But when she was first born, we felt some significant impact of isolation in our life with her. And the first 2 months, we'll just give you a really short, condensed version of this, but the first 2 months she was born, she was perfect, healthy, everything was amazing, right?
Our first girl. We
yeah.
had 2 boys, and then this perfect angel
Right.
came along with the closet full of pink and
Right, and she was perfect. Like I stayed home from work for several weeks, and we were like lazed around with her like this is the most amazing time ever. Fast forward 2 months on a Saturday, and we were about to go out on our first date finally after a couple of months of being home. That wasn't isolation. We were just at home with our little girl and our little family, right? And she got horribly sick and vomited for many hours straight, which is not normal and is very, very concerning for a little toddler, little infant like that. And for the next nearly 2 years, we lived that life trying to figure out what disease she had. We finally figured it out, but they didn't have any cure for her at that point. And we lived like all of a sudden out of nowhere, our life was great. Just had our 3rd kid. She's awesome. Our 2 boys are awesome. Work is good. Our marriage is good. All of these things are good. Like what so many of you guys were experiencing. Like life was good. Yeah, there's challenges, but it was good. And then all of a sudden, like a train hits you out of nowhere. Like what we're all experiencing right now. Everything changed. I mean, I barely made it to work because we were in the hospital all the time. We barely went outside except those long hours during the night where I drove her around because that was the only time she would calm down and not scream. And we'd get 10 minutes of a break and then she'd scream again for hours. That life-changing situation put us into something where we didn't talk about it with family. We were just isolated because we didn't know what to do. We'd go to doctors and whatnot and no answers were given. And we fell into a despair, really. Like we were struggling on all fronts, and that started feeding into some of the things that Sarah started going through for the next several years. And one of the things that showed us that isolation can be really hard because you're out on your own, and you think 7 years ago we didn't even have all the tools and the multimedia that we do now, right? But even with that, isolation still is really hard today. And so that was our first example of it. Now she's healthy and running around, and we're thankful to God for that, right? But it doesn't minimize how difficult those nearly 2 years were. And then I think going into this last year, right, of your situation.
So Gabby finally was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease called FPIES, and at the time it wasn't recognized by the CDC. So in the 2 years that she was sick, vomiting until shock, allergic to basically everything but air, we didn't have any real medical help because it wasn't recognized as a disease. It wasn't really known, especially here in the States. And so I just turned to researching myself and trying to figure out what it was. But basically, autoimmune disorders are genetic in nature, not all the time, but what she had seemed to be in line with some of the things that my family history dealt with. And as Gabby got better and regained health, we started seeing the decline in my health really start to kind of go wonky, and all these weird things kept happening. And again, there wasn't a real clear diagnosis, or we didn't have answers from medical professionals on what it was I was dealing with. It was just an autoimmune disorder. And so for the next 7 years, we just managed it as best we could. And in the midst of it started beautiful chaos, which I don't know exactly how that all played together or what made us
that's
start a
another
business.
story.
That's
for
another
time.
story.
Yeah.
But what finally happened in our lives is we got to a place where, again, life was good, even though health was still a hindrance. But Beautiful Chaos had really taken off as a brand, and starting off as a design business and then adding a contracting business and really bringing back the contracting that's been in my family for generations. And it just went really fast, and it was exciting, and we were doing all sorts of, fun projects for different clients, and our kids were growing, and life was the American life.
Right.
It was busy and good, but it got to a point in December of 2018 where I felt like the chaos was on such a fast track and in perpetual motion without any break that my health problems were accelerating faster and faster by the day. And I loved doing what we were doing. I loved our business. I loved obviously being a mom and growing a family, but I was kind of feeling that bird's nest in my brain, like I need the chaos to stop. I hear that a lot from moms, and that's one of the reasons why I love my job, is because I'm invited into homes, especially for to serve women, a lot of being mothers, and I love connecting and realizing that we are one and the same. We are popping our heads up from this trench of chaos, trying to survive and figure it all out and just keep up. But what I was seeing is that myself and so many around me were saying the same thing. It's always chaos. It's chaos. It's chaos. And I got to a point where I didn't want chaos anymore. I wanted the beautiful back. I wanted the simpler times, the lazier moments in life, the more joyful moments, the more peaceful moments, the more passionate moments. And I started praying a lot for my health, but also I prayed that God would give me my life back, basically. And what I didn't anticipate is that for him to answer my prayer and give me my life back, I was going to be taken out literally of life's chaos. Not that he answered my prayer in a way that made me sick, but I truly believe sometimes he allows things for our good. Even though it doesn't look like it's good at the time. In fact, I've argued with him so many times on that. But I know that it was his love and grace that allowed me to hit such a wall that stopped my life dead in its tracks. And literally 45 days after praying this prayer, I found myself in anything but chaos. It was complete, just almost like what everyone's experiencing now. Everything just got canceled. And although I was dealing with it in the way of health, life was canceled. And at first, it looked really bad. But what happened in the process of my life being canceled was the most beautiful thing that I wouldn't change for the world. And in that time, I wrote a book. I did not write this book to share my own life's highlight reels. I did write it so that others could create beautiful homes without hiring me, at the design rate, at my normal design rate, but they could pick up a book and design a beautiful home. But I also wrote it in a very candid, heartfelt narrative to describe what it's like to go through those unexpected things in life that maybe do a 360 on the chaos that we're kind of used to. Right. Because what I've learned is that although chaos is normal and it's common and it seems to be how we all operate our lives, it's not sustainable. Mm-hmm. So in this, as we're watching people we love go through really hard things, real things during this coronavirus, I don't even know what you call it. Mm-hmm. It's not an event. It's
epidemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want them to know that God is so good and He's so there for you. And no matter what it looks like or what it feels like or how disorienting it is, He is so good and His love is so real. And if you let Him walk you through this process, there's so much beauty to come from it. And we will get through this. Life won't always be like it is today. We will get through Corona. Life will go on. But I think this is an opportunity to come out differently. Come out with a more beautiful perspective. Come out with a more beautiful family, a more beautiful home, a more beautiful way of living. To operate in the ways that we were created to operate in. We were not created and designed to operate in chaos. We are divinely designed to operate in peace, no matter what is going on in or around us.
Yes.
We are promised peace. And I can attest to that in life's greatest storms, in rushing my baby to the hospital as she's going into shock, in my liver shutting down and not knowing if tomorrow would be tomorrow, if Corona kills our business because we can't operate for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Right. There is a peace that rests so heavily over our family and over our home that I am dying for those we love and anybody and everybody to know. So with that, I think peace is kind of the first thing that we can see restored back into our lives in times like this. And that sounds so crazy because we are in a season or in a place where we don't know what tomorrow brings or what our bank accounts are going to hold in the days ahead, or just going to Target and, is there going to be the necessities that I need? It sounds weird to cry out for peace in a time like that. But I am telling you, it is the first thing that God was so faithful to restore into our lives in the craziest, hardest times. And that is nothing that we can do in our own power. Sorry, I'm not even letting you talk.
No, this is good. Out of 100% of the people that are on there, they want to hear you in your heart because that's real and candid. And I got to live through it with you, but it's not the same as living through it, right? So, but where we go with this, guys, is like the tumultuous times that we've lived, and we're not trying to say we live the same, right? So please hear our heart that we're not trying to say like the challenges we've lived, 7 years ago and this last year are not the same. What we're trying to say is that God's brought us through a journey already where it slammed us closed. It slammed all our normalcy closed. It slammed our business. Our business didn't close down, but it went like, where's it gonna go, right? We didn't know the next day. We didn't know, if she would make it the next day. We didn't know if our little girl would make it, right? Those are things that just slam your individual life like to a halt. And that's what we're all now experiencing at a global level, which is like scarier than what a lot of us have gone through before. And so we don't try to say it's the same by any means. What we are trying to say is that as we've gone through these like gut wrenching like seasons of life, that if we would have stayed just in the trenches, like focusing on that situation that we had, I don't think we would have come up for air. I don't think we would have come out. I don't think we would be sitting here, together, much less living in peace and joy.
There were some times that we almost didn't.
No, yeah. There's a certain, I don't remember which chapter it is in the book. If you guys want to skip that chapter, because it kind of burns me at the stake.
No.
But I did it on my own. Okay, no. So no, it wasn't always perfect, and it isn't perfect today. But there is a perfect peace that he has, that as you seek after him and after you seek after that, it can get you through these really tumultuous times. It can help you see a different perspective, and we need that in this world. We need that today more than we've all needed it as ever, right? And that peace, like leading with peace, because it's the opposite, right? Peace is the opposite of chaos. And we lived some really chaotic moments in our own little world, right? In our own little bubble. And they almost tore us apart. They almost collapsed us. But we were fortunate enough, right, to have some other people pour into us, speak truth into us. We're not trying to claim that we're better or beyond anyone else. We're just trying to say, guys, we've been through it. Mm-hmm. And without his peace and without getting peace from Christ himself, we got nothing, right? And right now, as all of us are living this chaotic time, right? And we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't know, all of that. And we can go and research it and study it, as she was saying that's what she did, both for her own autoimmune, disorders, as well as with Gabby's. It got us some information. There was some wisdom and some value in learning some of that, especially when doctors didn't know it yet, because CDC didn't even acknowledge it at that point, and they do now. It also brought us into a rabbit trail of like despair, right? Right? Like we needed to spend some time, and that's part of our like what we want to share is like, we've got different sides of this world right now of talking like total fear and talking about like don't have any fear, and there's some realities that we need to bring that together. We need to blend them and be like, guys, we got to pay attention to what is going on in the world. There's some really real scary stuff that's out there, and we have to pay attention and be wise about that and take really good advice. At the same time, we've got to take the spiritual side and what the word says to do, because he talks about over and over and over how we can have peace, how we can have joy, how we will get through this. There's like countless stories and parables and direction that we can apply today. See, we didn't know that before. Like 7 years ago, we were just little Christians going to a church. That's it. Check, okay, and off to our life. And then
stuff got real.
Stuff got really real. And we went, is this stuff even helping? Like, is the church helping? And we had to choose, are we going to run away from it and say no to everything that we had kind of been brought up on? Or are we going to dig into it deeper than we ever have? And that's not because we're anything special. It's because we came to a desperate place. Desperate place.
Very alone place. I think that humanity is feeling the gravity of being alone, and how opposite.
Yes.
Even as an introvert, I'm a total introvert, and I like my quiet time in my home. And I don't need a lot of social interaction, but still, I need to be able to go to the coffee shop and shake somebody's hand and say hello, or give somebody a hug and not feel like they're scared of me or I'm scared of them. Just even going to Target, walking around the other day, people just look like they're alone in Target, even with other people, because they're alone in
their hearts.
in their hearts and in a place of isolation.
Yeah.
And that is a really lonely place to be. And the most beautiful thing I've ever realized is that with Christ, you're never alone. Yeah. And there's always a comforter, and there's always a friend, and there's always a reminder to hope and victory and healing and redemption of any circumstance, really. There's no circumstance that is under heaven that can't be touched and fixed by heaven. So although we are all alone and in our homes, we're not. And like Jamie said, it's kind of where the crosshairs of the practical wisdom and the guidance of experts and leaders comes together with those who have such a solid trust in the Lord and don't have fear, come together and make peace with a situation that is otherwise something that can cause, which already has a cause. If you go on Facebook, it feels like somebody's fighting every second. But bringing all of it together and just mirroring the fact that as human beings, we are physical and we are spiritual. We have a soul.
Right.
And God wants to bring peace both to our physical body and our soul.
Right.
So anyway, I was going to read a couple paragraphs from Divinely Designed, which I've now had to go back and read myself, and I just think it's so cool how God would write something in a book like this and use me to do it that is so applicable to this moment in time and in history. And honestly, for us, this book isn't about selling books. Like I said, it was written in the time of isolation and challenge and all the things that we're now facing. And I will give this book away and stand on the corner and throw it at people because I want them to know so bad the peace that we have in our home now because of what he taught us through those things.
Right.
So.
And maybe as you're opening that, this is the thing, is that if you, for those of you who have the book, for those of you who don't have the book, this isn't the replacement for his word, right? But there's so much word in here. And when she was writing it, and then I was seeing what God was just infusing into her to put on these pages. Yes, it's touted as a design book, and it's really cool that way.
And it serves you that way too.
It absolutely does.
15 years of my career in one book,
right.
Ready for you to build, design, remodel, whatever you want to do, redecorate. So I got you, girl.
Right.
It's there. Don't get me wrong.
It is there, but knowing that the season that we just got slammed into, right, with COVID-19, and when you read in here the chapters on peace, purpose, direction, love, joy, safety, are you kidding me? That's what each one of us needs, right? So I don't sit here and tout the book to try and get a sale out of it. And again, we put it out there earlier today, like if there's somebody or you know somebody who just needs peace in their life, right? And they don't have the money to go out, or they're like, I don't know if I want to spend money right now. Let us know, because we want to give it to them. We want more peace in their life, because it's not, the designs are beautiful, and when you marry like the natural, right, with the supernatural, with the spirit, that's what we also see, like that's where our peace comes from, right? That's where we get it from. And Sarah's got an amazing way of putting it into words, and God's just infused words into her. So I'm excited for you guys.
Oh, yay. I hope you love it, Lisa. Our appointment was canceled this week.
So why don't you read a couple here?
Okay. So the chapter on peace actually features our home. So just
thinking-
because peace really reigns so beautifully in our home now that we picked our home for that chapter.
Right.
So we do go through and give you all the behind the designs in our home. But I'm just going to read a few paragraphs that I guess sum up where the process of pursuing peace and asking God to bring peace back into my family's lives, what that process looked like when it started. So I say, it will take some work on your part, a little more work than simply hiring me to make things look beautiful. But I promise you, the work with God, or the work you do with God, with your heart, will make your home shine far brighter than the mere beauty I can bring to your physical structure. I'm gently encouraging you to take an objective look at the complacency to accept chaos, where peace is longed for but not realized. Look at the chaos in which most of our nests operate and that we are fooled to believe is part of a perfectly normal modern life. The chaos may be common, but it is not compatible with the peace we yearn for. That is why my phone generally rings off the hook. Mama birds are calling on me to bring beauty and function to their nests in hopes that the beauty I can bring will connect them with the peaceful scenes they have seen and felt in my work. If I am to connect anyone with true peace, the peace that brings forth a peaceful home, I have to connect her with the only one who can truly give peace, the one who can translate it from his heart to her heart, anywhere, anytime, and in any season, in a process that divinely designs a pleasant, well-balanced, and beautiful life that permeates the story within her home. I'm squashing the world's attempt to sell our hearts on the idea that we can bring peace to our homes by taking short breaks from the chaos with things like me time or retail therapy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not one to turn down a facial, Lisa. And admittedly, I get a little pep in my step when I've tossed some cute throw pillows into my red chariot, also known as a Target shopping cart. However, not once has me time or retail therapy transcended my heart or home to the peaceful place that I consistently yearned for. So I decided to stop doing what so many around me were doing. I wanted different, and that meant I had to figure out how to be different. I happen to love the ways an eagle operates, and I often describe her ways when mentoring others. Have you ever noticed that an eagle, while flying, doesn't constantly flap her wings? All the other birds flap and flap as they fly, but the eagle just soars. She soars peacefully, with ease. She finds the air currents and atmosphere with which she was made to be compatible, and she can glide in peace while her wings keep her aloft. Then she flies back to her nest, bringing that sense of peace with her, and teaches her young to do the same. Although her nest is surrounded by all the other birds who are busy flapping, she teaches her eaglets how to soar above the chaos. What does this mean for you, Mama Bird? How do you fly higher than the chaos our world is cut up in and soar in peace in the atmosphere created for you and your young? It will require you to focus in with eagle eyes on the words of the one who created you. In his written word, he reveals exactly how it is you can find that atmosphere built for soaring. In John 14, it says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid."
Come on. Like, does that not just tell you the time that we're in right now? Like, none of us knew what we were about to go into, and what, it wasn't Sarah writing that was God's words coming through her, right? Just like for each of us, we're to be his hands and feet, right? So there's a plan for each and every one of you guys, each and every one of our kiddos, and for you guys to get that in your heart so deep, to go, we are in a crazy time, but we're not going to flap around like everybody else. We're not going to be like every other normal bird, as that story says, but each one of us are called to be eagles, to rise like far above all of this, And that doesn't mean that you don't pay attention, like, of what's going around you, but you
it's
don't
not,
get caught
it's
up
not
into it the same way.
And that was the one thing that finally started the rescue mission in our life. Especially with Gabby, because as a mom, I was Googling all the time.
All the time.
And it was when I stopped Googling and started reverting my focus
Right.
back to the Word and back to the promises over her life,
Right.
and back to the hope that I so desperately needed. You know, the Word says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. If we're constantly watching the news right now and getting the anxiety producing updates all day long, it's like you are what you eat. You know, it permeates in your soul, and the Word is the exact opposite.
Amen.
The Word is so full of hope, so full of excitement, and so full of the creative ways God promises to bring us through things that we didn't even know we were going to go through, because He knew it. He's not surprised by this. In it, He is so jealous for our affections and our attentions, and so wanting to know His love and who He really is in His heart. And I feel like that is why things happen to the gravity that they do, because He is that jealous for us to know who He is, and to learn of the atmosphere that He actually created us to fly in.
Right. Amen.
Sorry.
I'm good with that. You're doing good, baby. Guys, yeah, just leave it at that. I'm kind of laying it out on the table here, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
He is not surprised by this.
Yes. Oh man, we had such a big conversation about that earlier, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly it. He didn't do this to us, right? Just like He didn't put us into chaos 7 years ago and last year with diseases. He's not the author of disease, right? That's the enemy. That's Satan. But God doesn't get surprised by any of this either, and so. He knows what tomorrow is going to bring, even when we don't. And so when we can rest in Him versus news, when we can rest in Him versus our own beliefs and our own abilities and our own shoulders, right? So many of us try to think that we can be in control, and we don't have control, and we've all got slammed into this, and this is proving it. We don't have control, right? But we do have the ability to look to Him and say, You are in control of all things.
And your perfect love guides that control.
Right. And the Word says that He worked all things for the good of His people. So even in this chaos, even in this tumultuous time, even in this, and it's hard to understand it. Trust me, I'm not going to try and explain how it all works together. It's far beyond my brain capacity. But He's God. So He knows that His Word is true, and He works all of this for the good of His people. I just want to be in there, and I want all of you guys to be in there, and I want us to go find more and more people to be aligned so that they can have peace even in this, right? And not be caught up with just the destruction and just the hurt and just the pain and just the anxiety of it, you know?
Not that there isn't compassion for that.
Right.
And compassion is a beautiful... there's so much depth to the Lord's compassion that I can't even articulate it in words, because He so intimately showed His compassionate heart through the darkest nights that turned into the brightest hours simply because of His compassion. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing this, is to be just compassionate. We don't have a news update. We don't have the best way to, handle exposure to corona, but what we do have is compassion, and that is so much what the Lord wants to give to his kids right now.
Yes.
That he is compassionate. He understands what it's like to be scared. He understands what it's like to be nervous about the future. But he, in that, wants to tie that compassion up with a bow that is his love.
Right.
And his love is the effect that we hope for, the result of coming through this. When I was getting treatment from a naturopath for the autoimmune disorder, I learned so much from this beautiful woman who just generously poured out her time and really ingenious to helping others. And one thing I remember her saying is, the only way out is through. And at the time I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know how to go through this anymore. I call uncle.
Yeah, right.
But what she was saying was, you're gonna go through it one way or the other.
Right.
It's up to you how you're gonna go through it, and how you're gonna allow God, how much you're gonna allow God
Yes.
to prevail in your story. And I abandoned it all because I was sick of the previous attempts. Google did not help me. Google was not was not making life better. Google was making life worse. So I abandoned recklessly every reservation I had to just allowing the Lord to break down every barriers in my heart to show me his love and allow me to see that his promises in his word were true, and peace and comfort being the ones I needed so badly, so quickly. Right. And he came so quickly just by asking him. I think we often think God is some far off being that we throw up a post-it note to and hope that maybe he'll answer. And oh my gosh, he is anything but that. He is the speed of light. I mean, yes, not every prayer gets answered immediately, but when his child, just like when my baby Grayson calls out to me, I come running. I am like recklessly running through the house to go comfort my baby. Right. And God is God, and he does that at a level 10 billion times or with 10 billion times more passion and love than I can even do as a human mother.
Right.
And so I think it may be time to turn the news off. Turn the Facebook feeds off and stop taking in the chaos and ask God to bring us into a realignment with his love and where he wants to bring us as we go through this and what he wants to show us. Because I promise you, that route with him will not disappoint you.
And one really, really practical thing I just want to share with you guys is that when you turn something off, it doesn't mean that you abandon it forever. It doesn't mean that you're rejecting information, right? We're only getting panic and chaos from it, right? You can get the snippets that you really need in a really short period of time and then not be consumed with it. Take that time, and I'll tell you, one of the biggest life-changing, peace-giving things that came in our house was praise and worship. Like music.
Turn the TV off and turn the music on.
Yes. Because it will change your life. I remember her mom constantly, like, just turn a radio on with praise and worship. Turn it. I mean, she's been harping on that for the last 17 years I know of, right?
Well, you really needed harping on.
I needed a lot of harping on. Yeah.
Well, actually,
Mom and Grandma.
She likes you more than she likes me.
I don't think so. But that's the thing, is that when she's been saying that, and we, it's like listening to a pastor in church, right? You hear them, and you hear them, and you don't apply it. And then all of a sudden you apply that one simple thing, and like, there's breakthrough. And we saw major breakthrough this last year. We're seeing it right now. So we're still applying those same principles. Like, we just got done having praise and worship for hours before this. And you go, how do you have time? Well, because don't we all have time, right? It's on all the time, because, and it's like our little now 6-year-old is walking around singing every verse. That's life altering for him, right? So we're teaching our kids to like raise up in the word, right? They don't study every Bible verse, but they know the worship songs, so they do know Bible, right? And it's in their heart. And so when we're driving in the car, they're like, hey, will you play that? Will you play that? And they're singing in the background. And we won't go into this tonight because there's so much depth and so much more. But man, we are moving mountains with that praise and worship. And it's bringing you out of a place of despair and into a place of peace. Guys, that's what we all want, right? The circumstances, we don't have a whole lot of control over them, right? We just don't. But we have control over, like, are we going to focus on the disparity, right? Or are we going to focus on, like, the peace? And we're going to focus on, like, God's provision. And when we focus on that, like, that brings life into us. And when it brings life into you, it brings life into your spouse and into your kids. And when it does that, it starts permeating. Like, the ripple effect is huge, right? Like, we're just one little couple. We're not anybody. But I want to be the light for our neighborhood and for our business, right? And for our church and for our friends and for our family, just like they have been to us, right? We all have these seasons that we go through. You guys get to be that, right? You guys are taking the time, kind of a lot of time. Sorry, this is going on, right? But thank you for taking the time, not to listen to us, but to listen to God's heart, right? To go, I want something different than what CNN has or that Fox News has. I don't care which one you listen to, but at the end of the day, listen to either one, but go get it first from the Lord, because He's going to bring you to a place that's so much stronger, so much better, so much more peaceful than anything the world has to offer, right? You heard that verse. It's like, that's truth. And when you can apply that stuff to your day-to-day lives, it changes everything. Will we still have to deal with the circumstances around us? Absolutely. Will it immediately fix it all? Just like when she goes running after Grayson and he's hurt himself, it doesn't immediately take all the pain away, but I guarantee he's a lot more comforted when Mama Bear's holding him than if you're just like, no, don't care, and he was just on his own, isolated, right? He cares, and he's also like, okay, my whatever hurt still hurts. That circumstance is still there, but he's comforted. He feels peace. He feels love. That changes everything. And sooner or later, it starts going away too. The pain starts going away, right? And we start getting into the reality of what His purpose and plan is for each one of us. It's so cool. The Bible says that He is no respecter of persons, which means He doesn't give favor, You'd think I have favor because I married her. You'd think I have favor, right? And clearly I was lucky, okay? But He doesn't give me any more favor. He doesn't give Sarah any more favor than He gives you. He doesn't give one child favor over the other one. We as humans sometimes do that. We don't mean to. We love all our kids, but sometimes we do that.
We do love that one son.
That one?
The one the most.
The one, yes, exactly. But God doesn't do that. He is no respecter of persons. So what He gives to one, He wants to pour out, but He gives it in different ways, right? He brought us through a season that was horrible last year. Horrible, right? But He did that to open our eyes to Him, to slow us down, to focus on our relationship with Him, our relationship with each other, our relationship with our kids. Now, all three of those things are like 100 times stronger. Not 2%, not 3%, not just a little bit. We've abandoned so much. We abandoned things that were of the world so that we can focus on Him. And guess what He did? He rewards it. He rewards it. He rewards it. He wants to do that with every single one of you guys. He wants to do that with your family, with your kids, with your neighbors. And they don't have to be super religious. They don't have to be any of that. They just have to say, help me, Lord, right? And so with all that, like, I know we got to wrap up, and we just appreciate. We know you guys got to get going to all your
all
stuff.
your stuff. Wait,
All your stuff.
Do we?
Maybe you don't have stuff.
No,
None of us have stuff. I don't know.
I think we're used to saying that, like on a business call. We know
Right.
you guys got to get going to your
Right,
chaos,
and everyone's like, we don't.
but
Right.
maybe we're not. Shouldn't use that anymore because
No.
it's kind of irrelevant. At
It
the
is
moment.
relevant. Kind of strange.
You know.
Kind of strange.
You know.
I don't know where I was going
Right,
with
me
that.
too.
So
I think I love what you said though. Like, it is so much better now.
Mm-hmm.
Our lives are so much better, and that is the hope of getting through this kind of global, weird, hard thing. Is that we'll go through it and life will be brought to such a better place if we put our trust in Him. His promise to do that isn't if we're standing outside of His love, but it's when we step into His love that promise is a promise. And so I don't want to offer the false pretense
that word.
that word. I don't know.
I don't know.
Either.
If any of you know it, just let us know.
The falsity. You know? Should we just keep on going with made up words by Jamie and Sarah because we do that often?
Well, okay, thanks for saying you do that. I do that all the time. So I create all sorts of crazy words, and she just laughs at me.
But it's not that it's all just going to be rainbows and butterflies. It will be better with the Lord. That is the promise,
That
period.
is the promise, yeah.
And in his arms, in the comfort of being under the shadow of His wings, of being able to talk and talk about the real things and the real human emotions and feelings that we have, but yet be able to talk with others that this is God.
Right.
God is God. I think with this, sorry, got a little choked up with a manly voice there for a minute. I think this is the most proof that we can have that we are not God. Mm-hmm. We build things on this earth and we claim that they're ours and we're in control. And look at, they're canceled in a day. I mean, there's nothing that we've done that we had control over Saturday morning. Nothing we built, that we ultimately had control over Saturday morning when we woke up and basically the world was canceled. So this is just that awe-inspiring moment and evidence that God is God and we are not. But that is not a scary thing like the things we're facing. That is a beautiful, hopeful, wonderful, life-giving, loving, I don't even have all the beautiful words to describe it thing. That is an awesome thing. And He is an awesome God. And even in hard things, He is still God and He still loves and He still cares. Your family is still held. Your family will still be provided for. Your family will still be comforted. Your family has the opportunity to go to another level of beauty and way of operating in this life that maybe we all have gotten a little too complacent to, and the dysfunctions that were actually riddling the quality of our life.
Right. I just want to read one other really short excerpt here, which to kind of close up some of this is, it says, "It is with eagle's wings and eagle's eyes that you can also fly high and focus your gaze on the Word of God, which is the gospel of peace. In every place and every circumstance, your heart and your home can also overflow with peace. I share one last lesson of the eagle to help you make this true. The eagle flies at her highest altitudes during a storm. While all of the other birds try to hide from the storm in trees and bushes close to the ground, it is the intensity and chaos of the storm's own winds that lift the eagle above the clouds. She spreads her wings, glides, and is filled with peace. I forever want to operate like an eagle and bring peace to my home. Don't you?" And in Isaiah 26:3, it says, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you." That's the truth.
Come on, somebody.
I'm hearing amen. Come on, this is church all of a sudden. Oh, we got there. But we got there because this is the truth, right? It isn't even so much the eagle. That is just an analogy. but it's his, like, as we rest in him, like, and we trust in him, that's where peace comes from. Guys, we want that for you guys. We are like overjoyed to have peace in our home in this crazy time. But we don't want to sit here and go, oh, just we've got it and look at everybody else. No, we want to bring that out. And I don't know the best way to do that, but I'm telling you, like, again, if it's through Instagram, if it's through this book, if it's through, you know, you guys go on, hey, what's the next step, right? And reaching out via email or DM us, anything that we can do to be like, to give you some practical steps. Like if you're like, great, now how do I go get it? Or what do I do next? Or I want to get more of that. I will not claim to have the answers for everything by any means, but he's given us and allowed us to walk through some crazy times that I feel like he's given us like a roadmap and a blueprint that honestly, it's not just for us. It's for every single one of us to apply and have major changes in our life. So yeah.
I agree. I think life is a chaos, but we're gonna make it beautiful some way, somehow.
Yes, with him.
With
That's
him.
how we're gonna
yes,
do.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to do any questions tonight? Do you want to pause on
I was
that?
trying to kind of keep up with them, but now they get kind of spun. I'll answer bathroom colors. Yeah.
That's from your dad.
Oh gosh, you already know. I already told you.
my
April's
gosh.
gray.
That's awesome. Well, maybe as we're looking here real quick, if you guys do have any questions that we could answer related to your book, related to what we just talked about, related to peace, let us know, because we'd be happy to take a couple minutes and just answer those if we can, right? We thank you guys for all of your comments. We're just kind of perusing through them right now. So if we look distracted because we're not looking at you, we're looking over here. We're not just off in our own little world all of a sudden. Thank
Love
you guys. Please save us to your stories. Do you know how to do that?
Josie, I don't know.
We don't have our marketing manager. Usually we have Josie, who is amazing, and she kind of manages this stuff for
I will
us.
try.
Oh, man.
Wow. Well, so much love to your family and compassion. I will end with this. You are held and loved.
Why don't we just end it with this, guys? I would love to just pray over each one of you guys that are on here, but also your families right now. So let's just wrap that up in a quick prayer and a blessing for you guys. So Lord, we just come before you right now, and I just thank you for your purpose and your